A huge thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get straight into it. Most people never break free from mediocrity. They hesitate, they overthink, and they wait, convinced that one day something will change, but nothing ever does. Meanwhile, the top 1% don't wait for change. They force it. Ayanokoji is the perfect example of this. When he moves, he does it decisively and efficiently, not just because he's gifted, but because he's trained to treat action as non-negotiable. That's the real difference between those who get ahead and those who stay behind. Winners don't make action a choice, they make it inevitable. And for you to master this as well, it all comes down to one thing. A single force that, once you have it, changes everything. I am talking about momentum. Once it's built, it carries you forward, which makes effort feel natural and progress unavoidable. And if you know how to create it, you can get ahead of 99% of people in just 14 days. However, momentum doesn't just happen, it's created, and Ayanokoji's acceleration plan is built for exactly that. Over 4 key phases: rewiring your thinking, optimizing energy, mastering deep focus, and locking in execution, you'll be introduced to a new variable each day, ensuring that by the end of 14 days, forward motion will be your second nature. Before you can move with momentum, you need to destroy the mental barriers that keep most people stuck. That's why phase 1 is all about rewiring your thought process for execution. Over the next 3 days, you'll systematically strip away the mental friction that slows you down. So let's get straight to day 1. Every time you scroll through social media, binge watch videos, or get lost in mindless entertainment, you're flooding your brain with cheap dopamine, the chemical that drives motivation and reward. The problem? When your brain gets too much dopamine from effortless sources, it becomes resistant to real effort. This is why focusing on deep work feels impossible, why studying seems boring, and why taking action requires so much force. Your brain has been hijacked. To regain control, you need to reset your dopamine system, not by quitting dopamine altogether, but by stripping away low-effort, high-reward distractions and forcing your brain to generate its own stimulation. On day 1, sit in complete silence for 30 minutes. No phone, no music, no distractions, just you and your thoughts. It will feel uncomfortable at first, but that's the point. You are forcing your brain to adapt. Then, immediately after this session, go straight into deep work. Whether it's studying, exercising, or executing on an important task, you'll notice your focus is sharper, your mind is clearer, and for the first time in a long time, effort will feel natural. But eliminating distractions is only the first step. The real challenge is making execution automatic, so that taking action isn't something you debate, but something that happens without hesitation. You have probably noticed this yourself. Most people struggle with consistency because they make too many decisions. Should I start now or later? Should I push through or take a break? But every moment of hesitation drains mental energy before the real work even begins. That's why day 2 is about creating your very own mental operating system. 3 predefined rules that eliminate hesitation entirely. As inspiration, there are a few examples on screen. Now, when choosing your own 3 rules, I want you to be realistic with the ones you choose. They should challenge you, but still be achievable. But once they are set, fully commit to following them for the rest of this challenge. No more mental debates, no more wasted time on whether you feel like it. The decision has already been made. You just execute. By now, we have dealt with distractions and hesitation. The next challenge is controlling how you react to discomfort. Most people fail because they make decisions based on short-term emotions. If something feels difficult, they stop. However, people like Ayanokoji think in decades, not days. They don't let small failures or bad moods dictate their actions. They see the bigger picture, and they keep moving forward regardless. And for you to do the same, you'll combine 2 techniques. The next time you feel any kind of resistance, ask yourself, will this matter in 10 years? If the answer is no, ignore the feeling and move forward. If the answer is yes, use that as proof that it's worth pushing through. But to make this truly work, you'll use a pattern interrupt, a technique used in cognitive behavioral therapy to break automatic thought loops. The moment you catch yourself spiraling into hesitation or overthinking, say, stop out loud and clap your hands once. Then, immediately shift your focus to action. This works unexpectedly well because physical movement and verbal interruption reset your thought process, which often breaks the emotional loop before it takes over. It's a way of forcing a mental reset, one that instantly shifts you from hesitation to execution. But execution isn't just about what happens in your mind. It's about removing friction everywhere so action becomes effortless. That's why when it comes to building something that lasts, whether it's your skills, your career, or even your personal brand, the right systems matter, and here is exactly where today's sponsor Squarespace comes in. If you've ever wanted to launch something of your own, whether it's a project, a personal brand, or even a business, Squarespace makes it unbelievably easy. Instead of wasting hours wrestling with complicated setups, you can simply use their AI Blueprint tool, which helps you design a professional, distraction-free space in minutes. And that is not all. Another game changer is their courses option, which lets you design and sell your own courses with tools that make the process smooth and intuitive. So, if you're ready to stop overthinking and start building, head to squarespace.com/methodicalmind and use the code methodicalmind for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. If your body isn't optimized, no mindset shift or productivity hack will save you. Execution requires fuel. That's why this phase is designed to maximize your biological energy, so that when it's time to work, you aren't fighting against yourself. For that, on day 4, we first have to address a major roadblock you are facing right now. Most people lose energy not because they work too hard, but because they waste it on low-return activities. Here, the solution isn't to push harder. It's to cut energy leaks before they happen. This is so important because every time you engage in a distraction, even for a few seconds, your brain has to refocus. This is called attention residue, and it drains more mental energy than you realize. It's why after a few hours of scattered work, you feel tired even if you haven't done much. The goal today is to eliminate these silent drains on your energy, and you are going to do that by using the 5-minute delay rule. Whenever you feel the urge to check your phone, open a new tab, or switch tasks impulsively, tell yourself, I can do it, but only after 5 more minutes of uninterrupted work. This simple delay creates just enough friction to stop impulse distractions in their tracks. Most of the time, the urge to check your phone or switch tasks will have disappeared, and you'll stay locked in. Now, once you have taken care of the attention residue problem, it's time to address your energy levels on a more biological level, because they aren't just about sleep or food. They're determined by how efficiently your body produces and uses energy. At the core of this process are your mitochondria, the tiny power plants inside your cells that convert nutrients into fuel. The stronger they are, the more energy you have, not just physically, but mentally. But most people's mitochondria are underactive, which leaves them feeling exhausted before the real work even begins. On day 5, you're going to change that with 3 straightforward steps. First, morning sunlight. Just 5 to 10 minutes of exposure signals your mitochondria to start producing energy and regulates your body's internal clock. The second step is high-intensity movement. A quick burst, like 30 seconds of sprinting or explosive push-ups, forces your body to increase energy production. The final step is fueling your mitochondria. Your body relies on sodium, magnesium, and potassium to sustain energy. If you've ever felt drained despite good sleep, an electrolyte imbalance could be the reason. Here, you can try putting a pinch of salt or an electrolyte mix in your morning water. Next, we'll refine this even further by optimizing stimulant intake for deep focus. Most people unknowingly sabotage their focus with poor stimulant habits because they create cycles of highs and crashes that leave them drained. Now, the goal for day 6 isn't to quit caffeine, but to use it strategically so that it works for you, not against you. Drinking caffeine immediately after waking shuts down your body's natural wake-up process, which makes you dependent on it to feel alert. Instead, delay your first dose by at least 90 minutes to let your brain wake up on its own. Next, time caffeine before deep work sessions, not randomly, so that it enhances focus rather than masking fatigue. And finally, set a hard cutoff 8 to 10 hours before sleep to prevent the hidden sleep disruptions that drain energy the next day. But now that you know all the strategies you need to fundamentally change how recharged you feel, it's time to get to the essence of becoming a high achiever. Deep, distraction-proof work. In Phase 3, you will learn how to access deep focus at will, because this is what separates those who struggle for hours with little progress from those who achieve 10x results in the same time. Let's get straight to it. Are you one of those people who don't struggle to start working, but rather to stay locked in? If yes, then day 7 will mark a turning point for you. Here, the first thing you will implement is to remove exit points. Before you start working, eliminate anything that could pull you away. Turn off notifications, close unnecessary tabs, and place your phone out of reach. The fewer distractions in your environment, the easier it is to stay locked in. But the real key to deep work is something called the flow state, a mental zone where time disappears and work feels almost automatic. Now, flow isn't random. It's a scientifically predictable state triggered by the right conditions. So, to leverage this, the first step is eliminating pre-work friction. Every second spent deciding where to work, what to work on, or how to start kills momentum. Instead, before your session on day 8 begins, set everything up in advance and also create a starting ritual, like listening to the same playlist or doing a 10-second countdown to tell your brain it's time to lock in. Other than that, balancing difficulty is just as important because flow happens at the edge of your skill level, where the task is challenging but not overwhelming. If your work feels too easy, try to increase complexity. If it feels too difficult, break it down into smaller steps. The key is to stay in the sweet spot between effort and ability. Now let's move on to a very exciting topic, time perception. The first step toward controlling your time perception is to eliminate time-wasting transitions. Every time you switch between tasks, even small ones, you create empty space where your brain reorients itself. This scattered attention makes the day feel shorter and less productive. So, from day 9 onwards, batch similar tasks together instead of jumping between them randomly. Besides that, leverage forcing urgency. Work expands to fit the time you give it, meaning most tasks take longer than they should. This is why setting a countdown timer is so superior to open-ended deadlines. Even if you don't complete everything, the compressed time frame forces higher focus and efficiency. Most people assume they're working hard. They hit their daily goals, put in effort, and feel like they're making progress. But the truth is, their limit isn't real. It's self-imposed. They stop when something feels difficult, not when they've actually reached their true capacity. To address that, on day 10, you are going to adopt a simple rule. Whatever you think is enough, double it. If you plan to write 500 words, you write 1,000. If you were going to do 30 minutes of deep work, you go for an hour. If you aimed for 10 push-ups, you hit 20. It doesn't matter whether you actually reach the doubled goal. What matters is breaking the habit of settling at your first limit. In the last phase of this challenge, you will shift your identity from a person who tries to a person who acts. But first, you need to prepare for when things don't go right. A missed deadline, a skipped workout, a moment of hesitation. It doesn't matter how optimized your routine is, at some point, something will break. The real question isn't whether you'll fail, but how fast you will correct course. This is where most people lose everything they've built. They see failure as a reset button, a sign that they're slipping back into old habits. One mistake turns into 2. A single missed session becomes a lost week. To prevent that, on day 11, you are going to internalize the lesson that when something slips, there is no analysis and no overthinking. The second you realize it, you simply move. If you miss a workout, you drop on the ground and do push-ups. If you skip a commitment, you take one small action immediately to rebuild momentum. Not later, not tomorrow, but in that exact moment. Discomfort is not the enemy. Pain, struggle, and frustration are not signs that something is wrong. They are signals, proof that you are exactly where you need to be. So, on day 12, every time discomfort hits, meet it with those 3 words. Good, this is training. And to prove it's real, track it. At the end of the day, write down the hardest moments you faced, the times you wanted to quit, the moments where hesitation crept in. And next to each one, list the benefit, the lesson, the thing it taught you that made you stronger. Because struggle that is recorded, understood, and absorbed becomes part of you. Day 13 will have a very clear action step. Write down 3 or more decisions you've been avoiding, anything that has been sitting in the back of your mind, waiting for you to decide. Once the list is made, you have exactly 24 hours to make every single one. It doesn't matter if you feel 100% ready. It doesn't matter if it's the perfect choice. What matters is making the decision and moving forward. This is how you shape your identity into one of decisiveness, not by thinking about it, but by doing it. You are no longer the same person who started this challenge, and on this last day, you're going to mark this shift with a symbolic, irreversible act. Something real, something tangible, something that makes it harder for you to slip back into the old version of yourself. Change your haircut, throw out the clothes that no longer fit your identity, delete the app that has wasted months of your life, move the furniture in your room so you wake up tomorrow in a new environment. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that it is visible. When you look in the mirror, your environment, or your daily routine, there should be something that proves this transformation was real. Alright bro, respect for watching all the way until the end. Now it's time for action. You got this, bro.